Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live session again. This is Noshin, one of the PTE trainers here at PTE Leader. Welcome back. Finally, we are here again meeting for our live session for this week. Again, today we are going to cover a lot of interesting and very, very useful strategies and topics that are really helpful for improving your English proficiency as well as skills to pass your PTE test. But yeah, before we proceed further, let's just take 1 or 2 minutes just to greet each other, say hi to each other, and see how all of you have been throughout past few weeks. So hi, just let me know you are here, and it's really nice to meet all of you watching the session. And yes, throughout the session, whenever you have something to share or if you have any question or confusion, just type your comment in the comment box and I'll try to help if I know the answer. Right, so let me just share my screen and start with today's topic. So as you know, today we are going to talk about the reading speed, how to improve reading speed for PTE reading section. We are going to also cover skimming and scanning strategies, really helpful for reading section in PTE. We are going to also discuss how you can improve your vocabulary, not only for PTE, but also in general English proficiency level. Right. Let me just go directly to my slide. Hi, Andy. How are you doing? It's nice to see you here. I remember you from the class. I hope you will learn so many useful things here again, Andy. Okay. So as I was saying, we are going to focus on vocabulary improvement strategies. Partly some of the strategies we have discussed in last live session. Today, we are going to following that up with some more useful strategies that you can really use to improve your overall vocabulary knowledge. So the first and foremost thing that you can use to improve your vocabulary is using imagery. Imagery is, I think, one of the very useful, effective, and most usable strategy that all of us at some point in our life has used to remember so many things. So imagery can really help you to improve your vocabulary. So this is a well-utilized technique even in schools. So not only adult people, but also in schools, high school students, primary school students, when they first start learning new words in English or in any new foreign language, they all the time use this technique. They use pictures to remember new words or other information. From Fan, so good to see you. I'm so happy, Fan, nice to meet you too. How have you been so far? All right. So to use this technique, we should associate an image or more than one image, so images, to a certain word. For long words, try splitting the word down into parts, each part having a cute cartoon attached to it. So if you are learning new words, if the word is short and nice, maybe you can attach one picture, one cartoon, or any kind of drawing to help you remember that. But if the word is lengthy, complex, and very hard for you to remember, you can split the word into 2 or 3 parts, smaller parts. And for each part, you can also again attach several cartoons or pictures. There is only one rule here. So when you're using imagery technique, there is just one rule. The more unique the weirder the image you attach to that word, the better. So obviously, when we see something really weird, funny, or attractive, we tend to remember that word or that thing for a longer period of time. So if you're learning something new, which you have heard for the first time, or a word which is really, really complex for you to remember the meaning of it, attach or imagine a weirder picture with it. So that way you will remember the word for a longer period of time. So imagery is one of the very useful and mostly used strategy to improve your vocabulary. All right, moving on. Next strategy, this one is also really helpful. Mnemonics. So in case you don't know what is a mnemonic is one kind of memory aid or a strategy that really helps you to remember any idea or a phrase with a pattern of letters, numbers, or relatable associations. From Julie, hi everyone. Hi Julie, how have you been? Welcome to today's session as well, Julie. From New, hi New. I hope you are doing really well and practicing PTE. Okay, going back to mnemonics. So mnemonics is really helpful and kind of tool that really helps you to remember complex concepts, phrases, or information. For example, let's look at the picture. If you look at the bottom picture, treating a sprain. So if you got hurt or hurt yourself and you have a sprain in your hand or in your leg or in your neck, RICE is a mnemonic. R stands for rest, I stands for ice, C stands for compress, and E stands for elevate. So in case you can't remember what to do if I have a sprain or one of my friends has a sprain, what should I do? In that case, you can just remember RICE. So every single time you remember RICE, you will remember to take rest, to put ice in that sprain, to compress and elevate as well. So RICE is a mnemonic to remember how to treat a sprain. Another mnemonic from the first picture, PEMDAS. So if, for example, I am very afraid of maths. For me, maths is a nightmare. So if there is someone like me who is like really struggling to improve their math skill, and you really need to improve or remember how to improve my math skills. So you can remember PEMDAS. So P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponent, M stands for multiplication, D stands for division, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. So if you can't remember what are the basic concepts of mathematics and you are struggling remembering all these things, you can just remember or memorize PEMDAS. So in sentence, it says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Take the first letter of each word, P from please, E from excuse, M for my, D from dear, A from aunt, and S for Sally. And then just remember what word stands for what. So P stands for parentheses, for example, M for multiplication, something like that. So if you really struggle to remember all these concepts, just remember this sentence, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So for each first letter, you will remember what are the concepts of mathematics. So this sentence can be your mnemonics too. So this strategy is not only useful for English, but also in any subject area to remember anything that you are struggling with. Now, for English, obviously, you're gonna use mnemonics. For example, to remember a spelling rule. One spelling rule is I before E except after C. So this is one of the rules I think I have covered in one of the previous live sessions. This is one of the very famous and very useful spelling rule to remember some spellings. I before E except after C. So for example, take the words lie, believe, pie. So if you're confused, if it is IE or EI, just look around the word if there is the letter C in the word or not. If there is no C, you can relaxedly just use IE. Believe, BELIE, pie, PIE. So this is one of the mnemonics, remembering the sentence I before E except after C. So if you don't have the letter C in the word, you will always write I and then E, not E and then I. However, if you look at other words like deceive, ceiling, and there is C in the spellings, and in that occasion, you write EI, not IE. So deceive, DECEIVE, selling, CEILING. So this is another rule to remember in case you are always confused between IE or EI. Just remember this rule, I before E except after C. And this is one example of mnemonics, how you can use mnemonics to improve your vocabulary or spelling. Right, then comes very interesting, very popular flashcards. One of the very most effective ways to learn new information. I hope all of you are very familiar with this concept of flashcards. So we need to use flashcards when we are writing or learning something tricky, something interesting. In that occasion, you can use flashcards. You can use a hard copy. Also, you can use apps in your phones to use flashcards. There are heaps of applications in Play Store or App Store, but there are lots of different websites as well where you can download their app in your phone and use flashcards, virtual flashcards. So Check Prep, here I have mentioned one app or website that you can really use to create your own flashcards if you're struggling with learning vocabulary related to topic, for example, education. You are trying to remember or collect more and more words, academic words related to education. You can download this app, Check Prep, or you can make an account in Check Prep. And then you can manually create your own collection of flashcards. And then wherever you are, at home or outside, stuck, you can just go through these flashcards and practice new words that you are learning. From Julie, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing. You are most welcome, Julie. Just try to figure out if this is really helpful for you or not. I hope it will be helpful for you. Just try to play around flashcards, mnemonics, and see which technique is really most effective for you and stick to that strategy and improve your English. Alrighty. So basically we use flashcards to retrieve a knowledge from somewhere. So if you're learning or reading a book, for example, and you have come across some really useful words and phrases, just write those down in a flashcard. So you can use flashcards to retrieve essential information from reading. Also, you can use a flashcard to check your existing knowledge. So for example, in last 7 days, you have learned 10 new words. You write down those words in a flashcard, not in one flashcard, in 10 different flashcards for 10 different words, and check your knowledge. You hide the word, check the spelling by yourself, and then match your answer with the flashcard. It's very quick, very handy, very useful as well. So we can use these flashcards to retrieve our knowledge, also to check our existing knowledge. Now, ways of using flashcards properly. Now, how can we use flashcards? Flashcards are for testing, not summarizing. Now, this is really important to remember. Don't write a lot of things in one flashcard. That's not the purpose of using flashcards. If you write a lot of things in one flashcard, it is going to be so clumsy. Your brain cannot retain it for a longer period of time. Your brain can't remember so many information when you write everything in one small area. The purpose of flashcard is just to test your knowledge, just to see how you are doing with your newly learned things. It's not to summarize a lot of information together. So if you can see in the picture, so take one flashcard, in one side, write the question, and on the other side, write the answer. So if you're learning spelling of a word, maybe on one side, you write down the correct spelling. In another side, you just shuffle all the letters, mix and match, and just put it as a question. So you see the shuffled letters and figure out what is the actual word. And after you figure it out, just turn it down, and just look at the opposite side and match it with the correct word, the correct answer. That's how you should be using flashcards. You can also attach pictures in flashcard as well. If you're using flashcard creator apps, you can always have an option to attach pictures, videos, images with it. Try to use that one as well with the question or with the answer. So that's how you use flashcards. Don't write a lot of things in one card, in one side of the flashcards. So it's all about one idea, one flashcard, not more than one idea per flashcard. Another way of using flashcard properly is to boost your memory by combining pictures and words. As I said, you will have the option of adding pictures with your words if you use digital apps. And I strongly suggest you to add pictures if you have that opportunity. Now, one of the memory experts in the world, John Medina, he discovered in research that after 3 days, someone is likely to remember around 10% of information they read. If an image is added to the text, this figure increases and 65% of information is remembered. So this has been researched and experimented on people. If you learn something in 3 days, just with the word, you will remember 10% of the information after 3 days. But if you remember, or if you memorize the same thing, attaching a picture with it, you will be able to remember 65% of the same information after 3 days. So your brain catches more information, your brain retains or holds more information when you relate one image with one word or one sentence or one phrase with anything. Images are really helpful for your brain to figure out what you are learning, how you are learning, and what to retain in the brain, what not to retain in your brain. So try to use flashcards attaching pictures with it along with the word itself. That's going to really help you and save you time and energy. Now, another way that you can use flashcards is when you are testing yourself and seeing how well you are doing with your newly learned things. There will be some questions that you cannot answer. You are very puzzled or very confused and have no idea about it. Just separate those types of flashcards together. So from the first picture, this is an example, like separately keep all the flashcards with all the words and questions that you have no idea about. If you cannot answer if you cannot answer any question, keep those kinds of things together separately. That will be your one criteria of having flashcards. Then another criteria that you can have for having flashcards is where you are confused, like your situation is like 50-50. Sometimes you are able to answer the question, sometimes you are not able to answer those questions. So you are not entirely clueless or entirely expert in those areas. So keep those types of flashcards in a very separate department. And then you will always have some questions or words you always are very confident about. You always know about those things. So keep those separate as well. So next time when you have time, when you are going through your flashcards or you are revising your things, just focus more on the flashcards where you are struggling, where you are more confused, or you have no idea about those things. Just focus more time, invest more time into those things instead of going through everything all over again, because you don't need to. This way you can save your time and use your energy, motivation, and your brain into things that where you need to work more. So just separate, divide, and use different techniques to use flashcards. This is another thing. This is really, really helpful. In Merriam-Webster website, if you register or subscribe in this website, this is a dictionary website, every single day they publish one word for the day. So if you subscribe for it, they will give you a notification through email. And every single day you can learn one word along with its meaning, along with its definition, and along with the history of the word, like how people come up with this word, what is the history or short background behind this word, what parts of speech it is, like adjective, verb, adverb, the pronunciation of the word as well, the definition as well. So you are not going to overwhelm yourself with lots of information each day, just one new word each day, and you can learn ins and outs of that specific word. So feel free to go to this website, register or subscribe your email address, and they will pop up every single day in your email, and you can just learn through it. This is really helpful, really interesting, and it is going to help you in the long run to improve your English proficiency. From Sang, nice to see. Yep, Sang, nice to see you too. I hope you are doing well and learning your PTE stuff from our classes and live session. All right. So this is very important word of the day. This is another very useful thing. Okay. This one I strongly suggest to avoid: autocorrect, auto-predicting features in your phone. So I'm sure everyone is very familiar with this feature of every smartphone nowadays. It doesn't matter you are using iPhone or Android, whatever phone you are using, you will have this option in your chat when you are chatting with someone. If you're typing something wrong, the mobile will give you correct spelling as a suggestion. Or if you're writing something halfway through, it will give you again suggestion to complete the sentence. So if you're just write how in your chat, the mobile is going to automatically give you the options, are you? So you don't even have to type it. Now I suggest to turn it off when you're trying to improve your vocab and grammar knowledge about English. Because when you will not have these options readily available, you will focus so much into writing. You will focus so much into how you are typing, how you're using your grammar, what type of words you are using, if there is any spelling mistake or not. If you are just do this when you are chatting with your friends or close people with whom, even if you make mistake, that should be fine. Now, I am not asking you to do this when you are chatting or typing an email to someone really important from your workplace or someone very important. Don't do that. But when you are, chatting with your friends, with people you are comfortable with, turn off the autocorrect or auto-predicting features from your phone and focus more on your spelling and grammar and all those stuff. This is also another very interesting way to improve your vocab and spelling. This is also going to help you in PTE writing section as well, because in PTE you are going to type in computer to write an essay, to write spellings for fill in the blanks in listening section, and then people become really confused. They know the spelling, but when they start typing, they forget the spelling, because in real life they never type it. all the time they are given the option automatically by the phone. So yeah, in that situation, you're going to really struggle if you don't practice from now on. You're going to make lots of more mistakes when you are typing because of this reason. So try not to use autocorrect or auto-predicting feature when you're using phone with your closely related people. Okay, now let's focus on reading. When we are talking about reading, it's not only about reading passages. In PTE, in reading section, you are not going to read passages only. You are going to read short passages for fill in the blanks as well. So when I talk about important elements of reading, it's not only about reading comprehension questions like multiple choice, it's also to read short passages for fill in the blanks in the reading section as well, or summarize written text passage in the writing section as well, because in summarized written text question in the writing section, you have to read a passage, a very lengthy passage. So even then, you will need to read thoroughly. So whatever the situation, whatever the type of question it is, anywhere you have to read, you have to focus on these 4 elements throughout your reading. So the first item is called speed. How speedily you can read a passage. That is going to really impact, because everything in PTE is time bound, time specific. You have a limited amount of time to spend per question. So if you are not someone who reads with speed, well, that is going to cost you something. So you have to be really fast when you're reading. Second one is focus, how focused you are. I have got this complaint so many times that they read something in English. Their first language is English, but then they don't even understand what the passage is talking about. The sole reason for that is they are not focusing enough when they are reading. They are not concentrating on it. So you can read a passage like 5 times, 10 times. Even then, you may not understand it thoroughly if you're not being focused. So along with speed, we need to have really good focus. What we are reading, what is the main thing about this thing? What is the main topic of this passage? What we are supposed to do after reading this passage? All this information should be readily available in your brain while you were reading something, because everything you read in PTE test has a purpose. They will not give you anything to read without any purpose. So focus is really important. Third one is comprehension. So focus and comprehension are interrelated. When you are focused, you will comprehend it better. So comprehension means understanding anything in detail, comprehensively. So when you're reading a passage, definitely you need to comprehend it. You need to understand the concept of it in order to answer the questions. So if you're not focused, you will not be able to comprehend it. The final element of reading is retention. Now, retention means how long your brain can catch or hold that information in your brain. So when you are reading a long passage to maybe, for example, answering multiple choice question, if you can't remember what you just read, you can't answer the question. So to be able to answer any question, for example, multiple choice or fill in the blanks or maybe reorder, every single time, anything you read, you have to be able to retain that information in your brain. You have to remember it. You have to improve your short-term memory. Otherwise, every single time you finish reading, you will forget, and again, you have to start from the beginning. So these are the 4 key elements. If you can master all these 4 key elements of reading, you are very secure, or you can be confident in having a good score in reading section. Focus, speed, comprehension, and retention. Now, today, we are going to focus on how to improve our speed reading. What are the strategies for improving our speed reading? How can we faster read any long passage? So these 2 skills, skimming and scanning, are really going to help you to save some time when you're reading any long passage or lengthy passage. So skimming and scanning are reading techniques, obviously, reading techniques. These techniques use rapid eye movement and keywords to move quickly through text for slightly different purposes. So skimming is one strategy or technique, scanning is different technique. But when you are reading something, you are using both of these techniques together, even though the purpose of these techniques are slightly different. Both of the techniques use your eye movement. Eye movement is really important when you are doing skimming and scanning. Remember, use both skills flexibly and at the same time. So when you are reading something, we use skimming and scanning skills all together at the same time. All right. Another question, when I read a really long article or essay, I usually got lost and hard for me to concentrate. Is it normal? Well, it depends. If you are a beginner level reader, like you have just started developing the reading practice, then it can be normal in the very beginning. But with practice, yes, it will improve. Also, you can use skimming and scanning. When you read too many things at the same time, you are gonna lose your concentration. For example, you are focusing on this live session, which is gonna run for 1 hour. Now, what will happen if I keep talking for like 4 hours, 5 hours? You will get tired of listening to me. You are not gonna focus what I'm gonna say, right? So my suggestion would be, depending on the article or essay, just read some paragraphs from it, take 1 minute break, and read again. See if that works for you or not. In the beginning, if you're a beginner level reader, this is gonna happen. It doesn't matter how long or short the article or essay is. But yeah, in the beginning, it can be normal, but using different strategies, you can improve yourself. All right, so use skimming and scanning. That's what I'm gonna talk about. Don't read everything word by word. You don't need to. Unless you are reading something for entertainment, like reading is your hobby, you love reading novels, poems, and short stories, articles, that's a separate thing. Read word by word, then that's not a problem. But if you're reading something for your test or any exercise, you don't have to read word by word. You don't need that. You need skimming and scanning. That way you can save time, and also you will not get bored or lose concentration throughout the process. All right. But again, also, if you are spending 2 minutes in reading something, I would say read for 1 minute, take a few seconds break, and then start again. So this way your brain will be refreshed. All right. We were talking about skimming and scanning. So for skimming and scanning, both serve different purposes, but they can be really helpful to one another. So skimming and scanning run hand in hand. Let's focus on skimming first. So what is skimming? Skimming involves running your eye very quickly over large chunks of text. So when you are reading something very lengthy, or lots of information are around you, skimming means then you are not going to read everything. You don't need to. You're just quickly run your eye through the text and just get an idea, what is the topic, what is the theme, what I'm supposed to do about it. All right. Skimming allows you to pick up some of the main ideas without paying attention to detail. So if you have a text in front of you with 50, 60 sentences, you don't need to read all 50 sentences to understand what is the theme or the main idea of the text. Just quickly move your eye, focus on some really important sentences or keywords. Automatically, you will understand what is the main idea. You don't have to pay attention to every detail. That way you can save your concentration, your ability to focus on things, and invest it into something else, something more important, instead of reading word by word. We don't need that. And yes, this is a first process, very fast process. When you are looking at a text, very quickly running through your eyes over it, you're going to do it very fast within, for example, depending on the text length. If a text is a 1 page, maybe you will need 1 or 2 minutes to figure out the theme of this. If the passage is like short, maybe a few seconds. So it depends. So a single passage should take only a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes maximum. Now, how to skim? That's important, how to skim. Take mental note of any bold print and graphics. So if you're given a text with headings, subheadings, pictures, illustrations, in PTE, usually you don't have it, like graphics and all those, but you can have headings and subheadings. So in that occasion, just go through all the headings, subheadings, and pictures in case you have it, just to have a rough idea, what is the topic, what can be the theme or context of this passage. Take a mental note. Start at the beginning of the reading and glide your eyes over the text very quickly. Always start from the beginning of the text and glide your eyes through the text very quickly. Do not actually read the text in total. You may read a few words of every paragraph, perhaps the first and last sentences. So as I was saying, you don't have to read everything in detail from every text. Just read few words from each paragraph, or the first and last sentences from each paragraph, just to get a gist out of it. So that's all about skimming. So skimming is just to understand the main idea of any text. Now let's focus on scanning. What is scanning? Scanning is also, again, using your eyes, but just to find specific pieces of information. So when you are doing scanning, you know already what you are looking for, all right? So for example, you are doing multiple choice question from reading section. You read the question. After reading the question, you know what they're asking you to do. And then you go back to the passage and then you do scanning, because now you know what you are looking for with a purpose. You are looking for a specific piece of information. In that situation, scanning is going to help you. So how to scan? Start scanning the text by allowing your eyes or finger move quickly over a page. Now, in case of PTE, you move your finger over the screen. Many people do that. So you can do that as well. As soon as your eye catches an important word or phrase, stop reading. So if you find any relevant information that you need to answer a question, whenever you find that out, just stop reading for a while. After you stop reading, just focus on that area only, and then slowly read that area again and again to understand it thoroughly, to understand if this is the answer you are looking for or not. If not, then start scanning process again and look for more information, right? So the basic difference between skimming and scanning is, in scanning, you know what you're looking for, what kind of information you're looking for. That is scanning. And for skimming, you don't know it already, but you are just trying to figure out what is the topic, what is the main theme of a text. So when you successfully use both of these strategies together, they're really going to help you to answer all the questions, at least most of the questions, correctly all the time. So when you look at the text first time, do skimming, you go back to the question, look at the options, and come back to the text and do scanning. That is how you can use both of these strategies at the same time for every single text, for every single question, and you're going to answer it correctly. So that's skimming and scanning. Next comes speed reading. So speed reading is any of several techniques claiming to improve one's ability to read quickly. So any strategy that you use that help you to read something with speed is called speed reading strategy. Speed reading is really important for PTE. As I said, everything is time bound. Everything has a time limitation. So we really need to pump us up to improve our speed reading. All right. Now, from this video, that's not speed reading. Just quickly run through a topic and just pass it over. That's not speed reading. Speed reading means reading speedily, but at the same time understanding what is the topic, what we are supposed to do with the text, and taking away all the important information from the text. So we are not missing out on something important. So that's speed reading. Now let's focus on one technique of speed reading, that is word chunking. All right. So apart from skimming and scanning, this is another strategy that you can use to improve your reading speed. So when you're reading sentences, don't read word by word. Do word chunking. So when you're reading, read 3 or 4 words together, right? So this is going to really improve your reading speed. For example, let's look at the first sentence of this image. So normally what people do is they read it like, when I do count the clock that tells the time. It takes time. All right, it takes time. But if you do word chunking skill and you're reading in your mind, read 3 or 4 words together. When I do count the clock that tells the time. So if you group the words and read like this, it is gonna help you to save some time. Also, your brain is gonna hold that information for a longer time because it makes more sense to the brain. So word chunking is really important and useful to improve your reading speed. So this is one strategy that you can try out maybe. So and see if that helps or not. Another thing is use a timer. All right. So if you are seeing every single time you read a text, it takes you like ages, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but you are not supposed to, or you are not allowed to spend 5 minutes into reading. You are only allowed to read, for example, for like 2 minutes. Set a timer and see in 2 minutes how far you can read, how long you can read, and then see how much you can read. Start again. All right. Maybe use these skimming and scanning, maybe use word chunking and see if that saves some time or not. So using a timer is really important. Before you figure out how much time you need to save, or before you figure out if you're a slow reader or a fast reader or an average reader or just perfect, just you have to figure it out using a timer. First, understand your level and then improve yourself. Maybe what you were thinking that maybe you are thinking you are a slow reader, but maybe you are not. Maybe you are an average reader. Maybe you are a fast reader in some occasion, depending on the text, depending on the passage. So it really depends. Use a timer, set a time, and see how much you can read in a minute, in 2 minutes, or in few seconds. There are also some websites. If you search for speed reading websites, there will come lots of websites where you can test your reading speed. That websites have a technique or a machine that counts minute when you are reading any text from those websites, and then they will give you a result, like you are an average reader, or you are a slow reader, or you are a fast reader, how you can improve your reading, where you need to improve yourself. They will give you all the results and suggestions as well. So if you are very worried about your reading speed, you can try that out as well. But also when you're practicing and trying to improve yourself, use a timer. That is gonna really, really help you. Another way of improving is use a marker. Now, this is not very specific to PTE. This is a very general suggestion because in PTE, you don't have the opportunity to highlight areas. From Julie, can I have the link of the website? I'll try to provide that in next live session, Julie. In the meantime, you can try as well by yourself. But I'll just keep a note of it in the next in the next live session. I'll bring the link of that website. All right. because I can't really remember the name of the website right now. It's not on the top of my mind at the moment, but I'll just bring it out in our upcoming session. So using a marker, yes, if you are reading hard copy things, or if you're giving some other English language tests on computer and they allow you to use a marker, feel free to use marker. That is really important to highlight what is important, what is not very important. And that is going to improve your reading speed as well. So this is a very general suggestion, not for PTE test, because in PTE, we don't use marker. Okay, this is another strategy to improve your reading, peripheral vision. Peripheral vision strategy means when you are reading, just focus on the one sentence you are reading. Don't focus on the other sentences before it or after it. For some people, when they are reading some sentences, they don't only focus on the sentence itself, but also they look around other sentences as well. And that distracts them. This thing can distract you, stop you from focusing on what you are reading, and then you have to reread the same thing over and over again. So peripheral vision means you hide other sentences, focus on only one sentence at a time. And when you are reading one sentence, don't start from the very beginning of the sentence, all right? Focus on the middle and spread your vision throughout the sentence. That's what is peripheral vision. All right, so you focus on the middle of the sentence, look at some keywords, and instead of reading word by word the whole sentence, you just look around it. And that's how you can just save half of the time that you usually spend in reading a passage. If you spend like 4 minutes, you will spend 2 minutes, and still you can learn what they're talking about. Still you can talk about what is the main theme or the context of the passage or paragraph. So peripheral vision technique is also useful. It helps to focus on the main thing on the sentence instead of reading word by word from the beginning to the end. Now it's time for myths. So today we are gonna focus on 2 myths, heavily believed, heavily focused myths that people usually believe, but that's not true. Okay. The first myth is some people really suggest that you can skip some items if you are time poor or don't know the answers. So some people give the suggestion that if you don't know the answer of a question, just skip it. You don't have to answer it. Or if you don't have much time, skip answering the questions and go to the other important question types. Now, I do agree that some question types are more important than others in PTE. But that doesn't mean we will skip. That doesn't mean we will skip answering all the questions. That just is not a very wise decision we can take. So surely there is no truth into this. The myth is around the questions with negative marking. So some people believe that if a question has negative marking and I'm not very sure about the answer, I should skip it. No, I will not suggest doing that. Don't do that. You're just harming yourself. So my suggestion would be that remember that your total score cannot be less than 0. Okay. So in case the question has a negative marking, all right, and you don't know the answer, what will be the worst situation? You will get 0 either way, right? So it's better, it's wise just to choose one option because you never know that can be the correct answer. So if that's a wrong answer, you get a 0. If you have negative marking, even then you're getting a 0. You can't get -1 even after 0. 0 is the last resort. So obviously you can take the risk. So even if your guesses are wrong, it is not going to affect any other question. So if one question has negative marking and you give wrong answer, that negative marking is not going to impact any other question in the PTE. You just get negative marking for that specific question. So we have negative marking in reading, multiple choice, multiple answer. We have negative marking in listening, multiple choice, multiple answer. We have negative mark in highlight incorrect words in the listening section as well. So even if you're not very sure, just choose one option, because that is not going to impact any other questions. And the worst is you are going to get 0. You're going to get 0 either way, even if you skip it. So let's take your best educated guess and try to answer it. So don't skip any question. If you are doing, for example, fill in the blanks in the listening section, where they will give you a passage with some blanks and then they will play the audio. You have to listen to the audio. And when they talk the same, when they speak about the specific word in a blank, you just instantly have to type it. Now, so many times what happens, people skip listening to the word. They don't know what is the specific word, and they skip the answer. I really don't suggest that. In case you didn't hear about it, in case you missed the answer, I'll say read the whole passage and take your educated guess and write something. Even if it's not the correct answer, don't skip anything. So yeah, that's one myth, and that's definitely not true. Always answer your all the questions, even if you're not 100% sure about it. Okay, second myth, memorizing the answers to past questions is enough to get a high score. Definitely, no, this is not gonna help you. Practicing past questions is really a great way of improving your skill, to sharpen your skill and implementing all these strategies for different types of questions. But itself, like the concept itself, that practicing past questions will help you or not, that's not true. In PTE, sometimes they repeat some questions, but that's like not even the 50% of the whole test. Just roughly maybe 3-4 questions can be repeated. So just for 3-4 questions, obviously you are not going to take the risk of not practicing enough, right? So this is not true. It will not teach you how to approach different types of questions. So if you just memorize the answer instead of focusing on how to answer it, you are not actually improving your English skill. So even if you get 90 out of 90 in PTE, what will happen is you are not improving at all. Even then, when you speak or interact with other people, you will stammer, you will hesitate, you will mumble, you will have lots of problems in understanding what they are saying. Or also you'll have lots of problem in articulating what you want to say as well. So our main focus of giving the test is to improve ourselves, to improve our English proficiency. So memorizing anything is never going to take you anywhere. So yeah. Also, it will not help you to develop your proficiency in English language. For example, repeat sentence. Repeat sentence is one of the highly important question types in speaking section and in the whole PTE test. For repeat sentence, sometimes people memorize like 100, 200, 300 sentences. Now, I really don't want you to do that. If you memorize 300 sentences from past questions, maybe you will get 1 or 2 questions common from past questions in your test, but that's just 1 or 2 questions. What will you do about the other 10 or 8 questions? So we really need to improve ourselves by utilizing these strategies that you need to answer a repeat sentence question. That way you are improving your skills, you are that way improving your proficiency in English language. So my suggestion would be, yes, use past questions, but only for improving yourself, only to practice and to improve grammar rules for reading questions. So maybe you practice past questions for fill in the blanks in reading section, which are extremely important. I can't emphasize it enough. Very, very important to improve your PTE score, reading fill in the blanks. And to answer reading fill in the blanks, you need grammar knowledge, 100%. You need grammar knowledge. Otherwise, you can't answer those questions. So if you want to really improve yourself, use past questions, past PTE questions for reading fill in the blanks, and just figure out what grammar rules you are needing to answer these questions. figure it out what grammar rules are really important. And then maybe you go to Google, improve your knowledge in that specific grammar knowledge. For example, you need to have parts of speech knowledge. You need to have preposition knowledge. You need to have verb tense knowledge, subject verb agreement knowledge. All these are very basic grammar knowledge about English, and you need this. You definitely will need this to answer fill in the blanks in reading section. So yeah, past questions are really helpful, really handy and versatile to use, to improve your grammar rules. You can also use past questions to improve your pronunciation of the common words for read aloud. So if you're really struggling in read aloud, which is one of the very important and first question in when you start doing the test, read aloud, you need to have very good pronunciation. And if you think you are struggling in pronunciation when you are pronouncing very common words in English, you can use past questions to improve that. But then again, don't memorize anything. That's not going to help you. The spelling of the common words. So when you are practicing, for example, right from dictation, fill in the blanks, in listening section, you have to write down the words. And then sometimes, as I said, people make mistakes because they heavily rely on autocorrect option in computer or in mobile. So spelling knowledge in present time for most of the people is really a struggling thing. So if you are someone who really needs to gear up your spelling skills, spelling knowledge, you can use past questions. Take a past question, play the audio for a listening section, play the audio, listen to the audio, and see what word they use for each blank in the passage. Write down the spelling and see if that spelling is correct or not. If yes, that's very good, amazing. If not, take out that word, write that word in your personal glossary or word log. Or also you can write that in a flashcard and practice those. So that's how you can actually use past questions to improve your overall English proficiency. Last but not the least, vocabularies used in the PTE questions. Now, you need vocabulary knowledge for two reasons in PTE. One reason is to answer the words, like for fill in the blanks, for write from dictation, for summarize written text, summarize spoken text. You have to write a lot. For that, you need vocabulary. Another reason to have a very wide knowledge about vocabulary is to understand the passages. Because you have to read lots of passages to answer some questions. If you don't know what is the meaning of some important words from a text, how can you answer that question, right? So we need vocabulary knowledge, not just to write our answers, but also to understand what we are reading, but also to understand what we are answering. Anything you do in PTE, you need these three things: vocab, spelling, grammar, and pronunciation only for speaking section. For read aloud also, you need vocabulary. If you don't know a word, how can you pronounce that? You will have no idea how to pronounce a word if you're seeing that word for the first time, right? So the wider your knowledge capacity about vocabulary, the better it is for you to do well in speaking, listening, writing, and reading, right? So don't just memorize the answers. Try to figure it out how to answer it, what strategy is necessary, what skill is necessary. And once you learn those strategies, use those strategies in those past answers. And that's how maybe past questions can help you to boost your score. Definitely not just by blindly memorizing it. All right. So I think that's pretty much it is from my end for today's live session. Yeah. If you have any question, confusion, just let me know in the text, in the comment box, and I'm happy to answer you. So I'm gonna just stop sharing my screen. Yeah. So in case you have any question to ask, any confusion, or any suggestion that I need to cover in upcoming live sessions, feel free to provide your suggestion. From Fun, yeah. Good night, Fun. I hope you have a lovely night and have a good dinner. Oh, you are most welcome, Julie. I'm glad it's been very helpful for you. And I'll remember to bring the website for speed reading, checking your reading speed. Yes, Sang. You are most welcome. I'll see you tomorrow in the class. Have a lovely rest of the day today, Sang. I'm glad, Julie, that it's been helpful and informative for you. My pleasure. All right, everybody. Then I'll see you in our next live session in upcoming week. Till then, stay safe and keep practicing English. Have a lovely evening or night, whatever is for you. Bye.